Is drinking raw milk safe like RFK Jr. suggests? Can you reduce a glucose spike if you eat your food in quote unquote the right order? I'm registered dietitian Abby Sharp. I host a nutrition myth busting podcast called Bite Back with Abby Sharp. And those are just some of the questions I tackle with qualified experts on my show. There is so much food misinformation and disinformation out there, and it can feel impossible to know what's real and what's BS. On Bite Back, my goal is to help listeners create a pleasurable relationship with food, their body, and themselves, which in my opinion is the fundamental secret to good health. Listen to Bite Back wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a critic, consultant, and programmer based in Toronto, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Rob Michaels, an actor, writer, and director whose credits include writing for Children Ruin Everything, One More Time, and Roast Battle Canada, among other things. His first feature as a director, Please After You, stars Sammy Azero as Ali, an upwardly mobile young man in Toronto whose life is thrown for a loop when his cousin Omid, played by Nima Nazari, arrives on his doorstep as a refugee. It's a distinctly Canadian comedy of manners that never quite goes where you think it will, and it's on digital and on demand right now. You should check it out. Rob picked Forgetting Sarah Marshall, the 2008 comedy that proved Jason Segel had the chops to be a rom-com lead, as long as he wrote it for himself. Segel plays Peter, a musician freshly dumped by TV star Sarah Marshall who tries to shake off his misery with a trip to a Hawaiian resort, only to find Sarah there as well, along with her obnoxious new partner, a rocker named Aldous Snow. Will Peter be able to deal with his jealousy in a helpful and healthy manner? Will he realize that Rachel, the charming, funny desk clerk, is kind of into him? And how will this affect the elaborate stage musical that Peter's been pouring all of his creative energy into? Forgetting Sarah Marshall minted Jason Segel as more than just a sitcom's second banana, and also launched Nicholas Stoller on a very decent directorial run. And, as you'll hear, it made quite an impression on teenage Rob. This is Someone Else's Movie.
It's my favorite comedy movie. And I remember seeing it when I was in 10th grade, back in the days where you used to just go to the movies every week, no matter what, and find something to watch. And I remember watching it with a bunch of friends, and we were so surprised by oh, this movie's so good, so funny. Yeah, it just holds a special place in my heart. Not only is it laugh out loud hilarious, but a lot of heart as well, and yeah, just a really nice feel good movie.
Yeah, that's great. I was considerably older, saw it at a press screening with I don't know, like 300 people at the Cineplex Yonge and Eglinton in Toronto, and the laughs were so constant and so natural.
Mm-hmm.
This was that little miracle moment where Judd Apatow could do no wrong, right? Like he was in a place where everybody was desperate to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
People were throwing money at every project. And while he didn't originate this one, he definitely encouraged it. And you know, his textures are all over the place. But I really don't think Segel gets enough credit for writing it, for like the sculpting of the jokes and the structure of it all. It's such a smart, thoughtful industry comedy at the same time as it is this weird broken romance, man. And he's not afraid to look like an idiot, which is downright refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, truly. It's so nice that there's no toxic masculinity or anything. He's just he's showing it's okay to be heartbroken, and to be emotional, and there's so much comedy out of that. And yeah, I've read a lot of interviews and listened to them talk about the script. I actually read the first draft. If you Google Forgetting Sarah Marshall script and you read the draft that is on the internet, it's so different from what the final movie ended up being, and you can see where Judd Apatow had his touches, like Jason Segel talks about it in interviews, where he's when he wrote the script, and it's a great script fun premise, everything's great, but he talks about how when he first wrote it, he was going joke, 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 and Judd Apatow was the one who was listen, we have to make this resonate emotionally. and then we'll find the jokes later. We're funny people. And you can really see, yeah, how he influenced it in that way, because it really is like emotion first, character first, and then the jokes come later. Like one of the most notable moments of that is at the end of Act Two, basically when he is going to talk to Sarah because she finds out that she got broken up with, and then he cheats on Mila Kunis. Um, that moment in the script that I read, it was literally like he finds out that Sarah got broken up with, and then it like smash cuts to him having sex with her, and it like takes out all the emotion and like the showing how he like slowly built like there was the guilt, but then he does it anyway. Like all that was gone. He just like and obviously like the final product is so much more effective because they do earn that as opposed to just the comedy of smash cutting to them having sex. And it's like, whoa, what? You just threw everything with Mila Kunis out the window.
I think it's a good laugh, I suppose. But yeah, if you haven't layered in all the emotions at the time, you would just go for the
Mhm.
obvious, I want to read that script.
Yeah.
The yeah, the it's funny, the watching it again a few years later, I realized that like the whole concept of it, which I just completely missed the first time around, is that this is this is a Kate Hudson comedy from 2001. Like this is a had it starred a female lead instead of Jason Segel,
Mhm.
it would be utterly cliched and conventional, right? Like
Right.
because we've seen these movies a million times. Sandra Bullock had made 3 of them, I think, but somehow having a 6'2" goofus completely changes the dynamic. And even the perfect the perfect flip of having, I guess it would have been a Malin Ackerman character, somebody played by Russell Brand instead, who's like, we can go into detail on how absolutely ruinous Russell Brand himself has been for this character, because at the time it's like, oh, he really knows how to play a douchebag, and then it's like, oh no, he's a horrible person actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then like it felt like a burst of this character, like he was the find of the film, right? Like they gave him the sequel, which I find so fascinating.
Mhm. Yeah, they actually rewrote that character. Like that character in the initial draft of it was just like some preppy, rich, like nice dude. And then they changed it when they met Russell Brand. They were like, no, this is the guy. Let's just rewrite this character to make him a complete, you know, douche.
Yeah, I mean, it is funnier if we're seeing it from Peter's perspective. Then of course he's a douche, but to have him just get worse and worse and worse over the course of it, and then turn him into like basically the rabbit from Hop in the sequel. And God damn it, I enjoy those movies. It makes me sad that now they come with this asterisk. But Forgetting Sarah Marshall sees it from a place of vulnerability, right? Like that's the thing that wasn't happening. It was a perfect counterpoint to The Hangover, which I think
Mhm.
emerged just a year later, or even like maybe even that same year, 2000, 2008,
Around the same
2009.
time.
They
Yeah.
were, yeah, they were coming. And this one sort of paints the more sensitive, emotionally aware,
Mhm.
willingness to laugh at oneself comedy
Mhm.
that instantly went out of fashion. I mean, even Apatow was sort of tacking around it afterwards with things getting more like This Is 40 has characters be a lot more self-destructive for comic reasons.
Mhm.
And it's, yeah, arguably he invented this modern version of cringe comedy that everybody else started to do. But I think I think Jason Segel is onto something really specific that everyone in the movie understood. Like it resonates. Kristen Bell is playing layers of conflict, which ordinarily that character wouldn't be allowed to have. Mila Kunis gets to be the manic pixie dream girl, but she also gets to have a complete life that we just aren't privy to all the time, because Peter is getting to know Rachel, and she's keeping stuff from him initially because that's just how every relationship starts. And then you have this murderer's row of supporting characters. But I'd
Mhm.
forgotten Bill Hader was in it, because Bill Hader was in everything that year. But
Yeah. And
he's
Jonah Hill too.
that one scene, yeah, or the two
And
scenes, right? Like he plays the maitre d'.
The way, yeah, Jonah Hill, he's like peppered in throughout. He's in more than two scenes, but he just like is in love with Russell Brand's character,
That's
and
right.
is like attending to him at every chance he can get. And he just has like so many throwaway funny lines, like when Russell Brand is like Aldous Snow is performing a song, and Jonah Hill comes in out of nowhere, standing beside Jason Segel, and he's like, "I just went from 6 to midnight," and it's like so random,
That's right.
but it's just he just has all these like banger lines, and then he like gives his CD, his demo to him too, and then he makes fun of his accent and all. He's just like such a funny character, and yeah, and then back to what you were saying about like, kind of breaking the stereotypes and having like a 6'2" dude having going through this, or sorry, having this 6'2" dude going through this heartbreak. The other thing that they really did well is like they made, Russell Brand's character a douche, but they also made it like complex. Like Jason Segel, like Peter was trying so hard to hate him, but he couldn't. And it kind of showed like this nice little unexpected bromance between them. And yeah, it is just really well done where every character had depth and, no one was perfect. And yeah, it showed like the complexity of these kinds of dynamics.
Yeah. It also does the thing that I personally love that Siegel seems to bring to like his energy is always manifesting itself somehow, which is that he has one ridiculous fixation.
Mhm.
The whole puppet thing, the puppet musical, which they hide. I mean, the elegance with which that's threaded through the whole thing, how he has this magnum opus, he's going to do this thing, and it's in the back of his mind. It's the one creative project. And then when you see it, it is very, very silly,
Yeah.
but so heartfelt and so well made because, of course, you
Yeah.
got the Jim Henson puppet shop involved. And so everything looks perfect. I thought on site that it was like an Avenue Q deal where it was just use those, but it's actually even more sophisticated because, of course, he's connected. You can do that when you're a sitcom star.
Mhm.
It explains, I think, how Disney and Henson would be willing to give him the Muppet franchise, to let him play with that property after he makes an R-rated film, including some
Yeah.
puppets. Like it
Yeah.
just, I remember the reaction at the time was like, really? But I was in the background going, yes, let him do it. Let's see what this is. And it turned out to
Yeah.
just be incredibly meaningful and moving because he really does care about the weirdest things. And that
Yeah.
translates into Peter's Dracula musical.
Totally. And he talked about it where he actually pitched the Dracula musical as its own film. I don't know how many people know this, but yeah, he like went to Judd Apatow's house and he played it for him, and Judd Apatow was like, never play this for anyone ever again. And then, it was kind of like a running joke. He was kind of devastated that there was this idea that he really wanted to turn into a film, and then in Forgetting Sarah Marshall they needed some kind of like arc for him to get his stuff together and put on like and have a big gesture at the end, and Jason Segel was like, "Hey Judd, hear me out, Dracula musical." And then Judd's like, "It's your movie, man, you do what you got to do." But it worked so well because it's so silly but so funny. And then yeah, you just love that like odd specificity, and it's so specific that it works. And it's charming, and it's not the focus of the film obviously, but they show it in those small moments and get some big laughs out of it, so at the end it hits really hard.
Yeah. And you feel Peter's earnestness coming through the singing in a way that I don't know every actor could do this. Like there is something that Siegel has, just this, he can smile and sing at the same time, and not everyone can do that, but he can also just push the accent and let us know how ridiculous it is while still showing us how committed Peter is to it.
Mhm.
It's remarkable. I interviewed him when the Muppets came to Toronto.
Oh, cool.
It was the weirdest. It wasn't the weirdest day of my life, but it was up there because I interviewed Kermit and Siegel, but not at the same time. Um,
And
it was
he wasn't doing Kermit. It was
no. Steve Whitmire
okay.
was still doing Kermit at the time. He was the guy who
Okay,
took over with Muppet Christmas Carol after Henson died,
cool.
and it's really remarkable. I've been in the room with a Muppet twice now, and you get to watch 35 journalists of various ages instantly react like children. It's like, oh yeah, he's real. He's right there. He's right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
He's looking. Kermit looked at me. All this
Kermit,
stuff.
yeah.
And Segel said that was the thing he couldn't get over as well. Just the fact that when he was doing, because we talked about the Dracula musical, and he said that was completely different because that was something he'd created and written, and the ideas and the puppets were designed with his collaboration. So he watched the felt come together, is how he put it. And yet when Kermit showed up the first time, he said he was like intimidated. You instantly connect to your childhood.
Yeah.
And he felt this terrifying responsibility. Like I think, how did he put it? He said he had to make the pitch before he ever saw the puppets in person, because otherwise he would worry what they thought.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like you're taking over this big known thing that people like with Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it's his idea, whereas the Muppets has a fan base already. You got to do right by them. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But somehow that sweetness comes into Peter as well. Like Peter respects Dracula enough to make a musical about him.
Totally. Yeah, there's so much of Jason in that film, I feel, and yeah, it's really cool to hear how it all came together and why he even wrote the film to begin with. He said that he had just been cast on How I Met Your Mother, and he had auditioned for a bunch of stuff before and wasn't getting it, and he's like, man, if I want to make a career for myself, I have to like make my own stuff. And he, in between, I think season 1 and 2, he went to Hawaii and just wrote the first draft of the script because he's like, I gotta make something. And yeah, I think so much of his voice is in it for sure.
Yeah, I love the fact too that his reaction to being cast in a giant network show that would end up running forever is I have to establish my own identity very quickly.
Well, I think he had gone, like, he did Freaks and Geeks, and Freaks and Geeks was also really good. But he then, after that got canceled, he auditioned for a bunch of stuff, wasn't getting anything. And I think he had this idea to make something himself, but then he got cast in How I Met Your Mother. But then he also, like, you never know how many seasons it's going to run, even if it is good. Good things get canceled all the time. So yeah, I guess, I mean, kudos to him for taking that initiative. And also so many sitcom stars end up getting pigeonholed into just that role. But then he had Forgetting Sarah Marshall come out, and it was like, oh no, you can make stuff. You've clearly separated yourself. And, now he's got a wonderful career.
Yeah, and it's true, actually. I didn't really think about it. Freaks and Geeks must have been traumatic to see a show that beloved die so quickly.
Totally.
So you'd never think
anything could happen.
Yeah, you completely lack stability in your life forever, I think, the rest of it. But again, like this, and this comes back to the other thing about Segel, which is that he is not just writing this for himself, right? Like it's his vehicle, it's his big screen feature lead. He wrote it, he produced it, he's the lead. He could have made it all about himself, and he chose to be as generous as possible. Everybody gets a laugh. Everybody has moments. Like, as with Jonah Hill, right? He's perfectly happy to just stand there and look perplexed while someone else steals a scene.
Yeah, totally. It's such a nice thing it feels like he doesn't have an ego because he's not trying to get all the laughs himself. Everyone is allowed to shine in that cast, and that's what makes it memorable, and that's what makes it stand the test of time. I mean, apart from cast controversies, but in terms of content.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I kept thinking, like, is there anybody else in here who's problematic? Jonah Hill was difficult for a bit there, but I guess that's over. I'm not totally sure where we stand on Jonah Hill.
I'm not sure where everyone stands. Mila Kunis was under fire for sticking up for Danny Masterson and stuff, and I think it hasn't aged. I think Kristen Bell's
still bulletproof.
Yeah, that would be devastating. Also, but like, yeah, that's the thing with Russell Brand's characters. He's supposed to be an asshole, so it's almost like, okay, he's just kind of playing an asshole. So it almost, I mean, like, I'm not gonna excuse behavior or anything, like it's terrible, but it's almost like, oh, cool, I'm not rooting for this character, so I can still watch the movie and like kind of hate him, you know?
Hey, it's Norm, interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on shiny things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the Odd Streaming Project. Last week, subscribers to the paid tier got my review of The Life of Chuck because I love that movie and I felt like writing about it, but it's back to Blu-rays and 4Ks this week, I promise. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io or find a link at the Semcast Blue Sky account. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. The other thing about Brand historically is that he never played anything else. So it's really easy to dismiss the persona as, well, he's not even acting. He's just running around annoying people. Because I assume that's who he is. But I also now you can't watch it without thinking about, oh God, he was probably bothering people constantly and if not doing worse. And it's just, it's just easier to hate all this is all I can say at this point.
Yeah, totally.
And there was a Tom Hanks Shelley Long comedy called The Money Pit, which no one remembers now.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's like 40 years old at this point. And the only thing, it's not very good. The only thing that's truly memorable about it is that Alexander Godunov, who everybody remembers as Carl from Die Hard, the assassin with long blonde hair, he plays, I want to say, a symphony conductor, I think, who is the self-obsessed distraction for Shelley Long's character in the same way that like all this feels very strongly patterned on that character. But he is allowed to be classy in his snobbery and just keeps coming around and bothering Shelley Long and trying to get her to have an affair with him over and over and over again while she's with Hanks. And he has this one beautiful line of dialogue where everything falls apart for him and he loses her forever. And she has this great speech about how she was wrong to ever be attracted to him. And Godunov has this great little delivery of, yes, I will get over this because I'm shallow and self-absorbed, but you're going to have trouble with this betrayal. And that's what all this never gets. I kept waiting for it because it felt to me that Segel was leaning on it. But the fact that all this is just a piece of garbage who disappears and ruins everything for everybody and then leaves, that feels more modern somehow, more mature. Like he doesn't even deserve that level of self-awareness. And so it's, once again, it's
Russell Brand's character.
Yeah, it's just easier to dismiss him that way.
Yeah, totally. Like he's not supposed to have this arc or anything. Like he's self-involved from minute one and he leaves as someone who's self-involved. And but again, I appreciate the complexity where Jason Segel wants to hate him but can't because he kind of thinks he's still cool, but he knows that everything he's done is wrong. It's a nice dynamic.
Yeah. And it also sort of sets up, I think, the reconciliation at the end between Peter and Rachel, which is like, the third act. There has to be a complication. There has to be a reason he has to win her back. But having been infected by douchebag energy, it sort of makes sense, right? Like he's had time to come to his senses and realize, as well as coming out of the depression that he's been in, which also incredibly taken seriously and treated not just as comic, like haters checking in on him and making sure he's okay. And there's a sense that there is a real concern for Peter during his spiral, as opposed to the funny comedy, which is absolutely there, about crying and wailing and being alone and screaming about how your work is just tones, which might actually be my favorite line in the movie. But there is this, everything in it this is what I mean about it being like a Kate Hudson movie from 2001 or Sandra Bullock, probably When Was All About Steve, 2006. But there is that sense that he is demonstrating that you can do an utterly cliched romantic comedy and give it some gravity and emotional weight, not necessarily turn it into a drama, but at least respect what everybody's going through.
Totally. And what I love about the film too is that they also have like the whole supporting cast. He just makes friends with everyone at the hotel and they're all so wholesome and they like hug him and they're there for him and they like are considerate of what he's going through. Like it really is nice to see a bunch of men being, so supportive of his emotions. You don't really see that ever, even still today. Like it's when it happens, it's kind of noticeable. It's like, oh, this is so nice. But yeah, it's so well done in that sense.
Yeah, I wonder too if it isn't just that Segel is most comfortable in an ensemble. Like he doesn't bounce off one person; he bounces off a crowd. And every project he's done inevitably he might be the focus of a story, but he's not the only person in the space. Like he's
Totally.
always surrounded by people. Was that Showtime series he did about people in a treasure hunt where he's only one of four characters, but again, it's something he created and developed.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'm going to check the title because I never remember it. It was called Dispatches from Elsewhere.
Okay. No, I don't know that one. I mean,
And I
I
was
was,
AMC. I was wrong. It premiered March 1st, 2020. No wonder we don't remember it.
there you go.
But yeah, poor guy. One season, but it's really like strangely touching and gentle and fun. About it's just about four people who sort of end up in a real life LARP looking for clues in the world and hoping that they lead to something wonderful. But
Right.
it's also about how four broken people are pulled together by this thing and heal each other, which is another theme of his because he keeps doing that. Like Shrinking is all about how hapless he is as an individual and how the world needs to give him his intervention over and over and over again. He's just a really remarkably sensitive writer, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Shrinking is probably one of my favorite shows right now. And I think he's just like pretty consistent with what he makes. And, yeah, if Jason Segel is coming out with a project, I usually check it out. I guess I just didn't hear about this one because of, the other news around that time.
yeah. I mean, it's just a natural result of living in the world. But
Yeah.
yeah, it probably would have run another season. It felt very small in its ambition, but I think that was part of the charm of it. It's
Mhm.
it's worth seeing. Also,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I'm going to look up the name because I want to make sure this is right. But he cast, it's got a one of the four characters is Eve Lindley, who's a trans woman playing a trans character.
Hmm.
And in 2020, that was not something that was going on. Well, 2019, I guess, when it was shot, that was just
Mhm.
not something that was going on. He just tries to be inclusive and ahead of the curve.
Yeah, totally. And I think like, yeah, it's always great to see that he is celebrating those voices and giving people a platform, right? So that representation is so important.
Yeah, yeah, good. Like it's just how I feel every time I see him. It's like, good for you. You made this happen,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I definitely like he's one of those celebrities where I'm always happy to see his success.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, you said you were in grade 10 when you saw it, so I have to ask about the adult aspects of it. Um, you saw it with some friends. What was the response to the big stuff, like the nudity and the R-rated aspects of most of the things that generally would be softened in a like a conventional romantic comedy pitch?
Yeah, so hold on. Let me see. What month did it come out?
I
Forgetting
want to say
all the
April or
months.
May. It was a spring picture.
If it was spring, then I would have been 2008. So I would have been 16.
Okay,
I feel like at 16, you kind of know all this stuff, whether your parents want you to know it or not. It was not my first time seeing nudity. Not my first time, hearing sexual things and yeah, like it's all at 16 you'd kind of know it all. There's no difference between 16 and 18 to me.
sure. I just mean when I saw it, the audience was genuinely shocked. I mean, this was a couple of days before it opened, so I suppose there'd been no coverage of it. But it
Yeah.
was like it played like something. The fact that there is full frontal nudity in the first 3 minutes,
Well, I was gonna say
just
that's the
like
tone, like, and that's part of what is the appeal. Is we were sitting there at 16 years old. Sure, we had seen nudity in movies before, but it was mostly, seeing women. And yeah, like right in the opening 5 minutes or so, like he drops his towel and we just see his dick, and we're like, "Whoa, this is not like anything we've seen before." But it was so funny, like it caught us off guard, and it really set the tone for the whole film to do a bunch of things that kind of hadn't been done before, whether it was like thematic or like, showing that side of masculinity and yeah, full frontal male nudity, and then they bring it back at the end as well with so it was just yeah, I guess it was refreshing to my 16-year-old self of like, whoa, I've never seen a movie like this before, and you can be that funny and do things that haven't been done.
yeah. Well, with my audience, just because the take goes on, right? Like it's not just a flash of nudity; it
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
hangs there, as it were.
Oh yeah,
And
and
the
then he
laughs
walks
just,
over and he bends down, and you see his crack and everything. Like
yeah,
they really sit with it.
yeah, which apparently was Apatow's contribution. But the
Perfect.
laugh just kept rolling. It was one of those, it's like the rake gag in The Simpsons. You just can't believe this isn't stopping.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was one of those moments where I was just delighted for the room. Like it was just fun to experience that with a crowd.
yeah. 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 It was crazy. I don't remember how we got in because like it would have been 18 at the time. Did they just not care and let us buy tickets? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Um, but maybe we snuck in. I don't remember.
That's how I saw
Uh,
Beverly Cop.
Theoretically, I don't think we were supposed to be allowed in.
Well, you won. It worked.
It worked, and now it's paid dividends because I talk about this movie with everyone I can.
Yeah. Well, this lets us pivot to Please After You. Like it is a relationship buddy comedy,
Yeah.
ultimately. And I'll tease this in the trail in the intro as well. So don't worry about going into specifics if you don't want to, and certainly we won't spoil anything. But the arcs are that of well, kind of like an I Love You Man comedy, really, which is Segel again, right? The sense that the rhythms of your film, the plot is different. There's nothing anywhere near as R-rated at all. Even
Yeah.
language is really quite restrained because of who these people are.
Yeah.
It feels like Siegel's rhythms and his compassion for his characters, even the most buffoonish,
Mhm.
um, carried through there. So, did you draw on that stuff? I mean, was it, or is it just so ingrained in your DNA that it became a thing?
Yeah, I think it is really ingrained in my DNA, like having been such a fan of that film and listening to Judd Apatow talk about how you always have to have your emotion come first and you can find the funny later. I think like that was the anchor for the film is always make sure that the relationship, the characters have goals that are like, and we sympathize with them in their pursuit of these goals, and then we'll laugh at the comedy that comes from that, but people aren't gonna laugh if they're not invested in your characters. Or maybe they'll laugh, but they're not gonna really care and be that engaged, right? Um, so I think that was super important to me, and that's how I approached filming it and making tweaks on the script. I mean, it was already a great script that Amir had written, and I just got to play with those things and make sure that I did get to focus on those emotional arcs. And I think that's what makes the comedy, you know, land at the times that it's there because we're focusing on the emotion first.
Yeah. Well, and I think there is a little more, there's obviously a lot more gravity in terms of the sociopolitical angle and the situation that sort of floats underneath the entire story, which I kind of
Mhm.
don't want to spoil. But there are, once again, like there are reasons for everyone to do the things they do, even when it seems um, like they're just flailing.
Yeah, totally. And I think like of course when you have a Middle Eastern story, I mean the story itself is, and it's not really a spoiler, but Omid, his character, when he shows up, it's because he's, declaring refugee status. And so obviously that's going to be a result of like political turmoil in the Middle East. We're all familiar, unfortunately, with how things are over there. But what it really attracted me to the script is that it was being told, it was still a comedy, even though it was set against this serious backdrop. And we never really see that. Anytime Middle Eastern people have been depicted in the media, it's usually like either they're victims of, they're refugees, they're victims, they're so sad, their homes have been destroyed, all this stuff. Or it's the opposite, where they're terrorists and they're the bad guys or whatever. But like I had never seen an immigration story that was like set, amidst all of this serious subject matter, but it was done from a comedic lens. And really, the point of this story is actually the relationship between the characters and not really about the immigration. I mean, yeah, the immigration serves as a big plot point, but the movie at its core is about the relationship between these two characters. And that really appealed to me because I'm like, we don't get to ever do a funny immigration refugee story. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a comedy of manners of all things.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess like I just love turning things on their head. Like again, like forgetting Sarah Marshall, going back to it. Like I had never really seen like the classic rom-com of the man being heartbroken and crying and all these things, right? So I'm sure maybe it existed before my time, but that was the first time I had seen it. And so that's why it really resonated. And yeah, I definitely carry that with all my work. It's like, what's the surprising thing that we haven't seen before? And how can we make that a fun story that audiences resonate with?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to say necessarily that a Judd Apatow production is a subversive comedy because I don't think he's interested in that. I think he's inherently conventional as a producer and a storyteller, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, obviously, audiences can connect to it, and it
Yeah.
can be successful. But the fact that with the 40-year-old version as well, like he's willing to play with your expectations of what men are,
Hmm.
and um, Segel just gives him the perfect launch pad, and I really want to read that first draft to see exactly how it was reshaped because they're Apatow's. Have you read his books, the collections of interviews he's
Like in
published?
the head. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
read the first collection. I haven't seen this. I haven't read the second one yet.
yeah, I've only read the first one as well. um he is such an interesting student, right, like
Hmm.
of comedy, because he's obsessively documenting the things that worked previously and then building new stuff out of our expectations of what will work.
Yeah. Starting at
So
like 15 years old,
I know
interviewing like comedy legends. That was crazy.
I'm so annoyed that he got to do that, that I didn't think of it.
It's fake until you make it, right? It's just calling up agents being like, "Hey, I'm doing this interview," and then they didn't realize he was doing it for his like school newspaper.
Yeah,
So they gave him all this time, and by the time he was already there, he shows up to Jerry Seinfeld's house, and Seinfeld's like, "All right, you're already here, I guess. Let's just do the interview."
yeah, nobody's going to throw a child back out on the street.
Yeah, but it's so great to see like that kind of risk-taking pay off, right?
Yeah, and I can see Siegel responding to. I mean, obviously, Freaks and Geeks is part of it too. Like he was all and undeclared. They were building this relationship, but there is something that he brings out in Siegel that I
Hmm.
think that we don't see in his other work, which is the mania. Like he's the thing that, I mean, he could do it on. He did it on How I Met Your Mother all the time, like this bizarre excitement about things. But Jason Segel is a Muppet in human form, so it makes perfect sense for him to be this character, to go so hard on his emotions and be so distraught, and then to come back out by putting on a show that is so preposterous and yet so emotional and moving
Hmm.
that I understand it. Like it's weird because the central joke of this first act is that he was ever with Sarah Marshall in the first place because he's such a schlub and so completely not just in not, and I don't mean this in terms of his physicality. He is a lump of a person by the time we meet him because she's dumped him and he can't handle it. But
Hmm.
their relationship has been deteriorating forever. That's like it's unspoken, but neither of them is really right for each other. They were just together out of momentum and inertia after that. And he gets all of this and plays the patheticness of Peter and doesn't worry if he's going to look funny.
Hmm.
It's inherently funny,
Hmm.
but he plays the reality of the sadness and just amplifies it by another 50%, which is why he makes a perfect Muppet. Um, but
Yeah.
it beautifully sets up the revelation of the puppet musical. It also shows us how Rachel could be interested in him because he is, even when he's depressed, he's still kind of self-deprecating and charming. He's trying. It's like a performance of a person.
Yeah, and he's flawed too. Like when the reveal that Sarah Marshall was trying to fix their relationship and he never noticed and he let himself go. And it starts the movie with us thinking, oh, he's in the right and she's the terrible one. And then it flips it halfway through the movie where we
Mm-hmm.
realize like, no, he's also to blame. And it's so strong.
Yeah. Again, he just understands everybody
Hmm.
and blesses a little weird heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll always tune into a project when I hear he's involved. So but yeah, definitely like lots of Judd Apatow, Jason Segel influences in my work, and obviously like this film is so different from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but the emotional stuff I would say is yeah, it was definitely something that I kind of took from growing up on films like that. Even something like 40-Year-Old Virgin, like you said, like it's so easy for it to sound like a comedy sketch that doesn't have legs, but they add heart and they add emotion and they add character, and all of a sudden now we have like a really heartfelt movie that also, it still holds up, I would say, but other than some problematic jokes here and there, but as a character, and as an emotional film, like it holds up.
I agree. The depth of it kind of sneaks up on you, and even the clumsy jokes are because those characters are unevolved, right? Like the whole point of people not understanding what a healthy relationship is means they get to be dumb about it and express it
Yeah.
badly. But then I think about something like just giving Keener that runner about how she's uncomfortable with being a grandmother and won't say the word. My kid has a kid is how she always describes it. I've never forgotten that. It's just so smart. And it tells us everything about who this person is. Like she
Yeah.
grew up too fast and he never grew up at all. Of course, they're going to find middle common ground.
Yeah, totally.
So is there like, what's the next thing? I guess that's my next question is like, where do you go from here once people see Please After You and realize what you can do? Like, what do you want to do next?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope people watch the film and resonate with it and enjoy it. And, I'd love to keep the momentum going. I have a comedy feature that I just wrote that is way more in like the Judd Apatow kind of uh tone. Yeah, it's a Judd Apatow-esque rom-com about a guy who is tired of modern dating in his 30s and wants to have a kid, so he decides to have one on his own. And he struggles through the world of surrogacy and adoption in a society that doesn't associate men with having baby fever. Um, and yeah, it's just like everyone in society thinks he's weird, a lot of jokes around that. And I think like that I would love to get that made. Because I think that it's like it's got a point of view and it's again flipping things on their head, like something we've never really seen before, something we've never really talked about. And it can live in that comedy world, right? Like that Judd Apatow world. And I just miss those comedy movies and I want them to come back, right? We haven't really had those kinds of comedy films in the past 15 years. Like they're not really making the big mainstream, Forgetting Sarah Marshall's, the 40-Year-Old Virgins, the Knocked Ups, like all those kind of were replaced by Marvel movies. Those were the new comedy films.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to make more outright comedy films and just kind of bring that back. And they're cheap to produce. So hopefully, the industry is like, hey, maybe we go back to this. Maybe we revisit. But I think the world needs to laugh now more than ever.
Oh God, yes, that's a perfect ending. And yeah, we do need more comedy. It's something I truly desperately want more of.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
they're all just going to Disney Plus. It's not the same as having an audience.
I think people miss laughing in a theater. It changes everything. Like even watching Please After You, I mean, I've seen it a million times in front of a screen while editing it, and I'm like, oh my God, is this even funny anymore? And then you watch it in a theater full of people, and you're like, oh yes, it is funny, and this is how it was meant to be watched. Because yeah, like laughter is contagious, and even just hearing other people laugh will make you enjoy the movie a little bit more because it is an experience. And so yeah, I mean, I would love, people are worried that theaters are dying, and I feel like there's nothing more exciting to bring people back than like a really strong comedy, because then they'll be like, oh, this is what we're missing, right? This is the theater experience. Because we could all go and watch a drama and like watch a movie in silence in theaters, but you could also do that at home. Whereas it's the comedies, it's like the big, crazy action films. Like, I mean, I know Marvel movies have like been hit and miss, but watching Endgame in the theater was unlike any other experience. Like, you can't get the same experience watching that at home. But I think comedy lends itself well to that because it's so different watching a comedy in theaters with a bunch of people than it is watching it at home.
My thanks to Rob Michaels, whose new comedy, Please After You, is now available on digital and on demand in Canada via Apple TV and the Cineplex store. Thanks also to Alia Stationwala. She knows what she did. You can find Rob on Instagram at Rob M. Michaels, all one word, RobMMichaels. And you can find Forgetting Sarah Marshall on Blu-ray and DVD from Universal Studios Home Entertainment. It's streaming on Netflix, Prime Video, and Crave in Canada, and on Starz in the US, and it's also available to rent or buy on various VOD services across North America. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, S-E-M-Cast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 41 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song's by The Last Year. If you like it, or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. I'll see you next week.